Hello everybody, I'm Dan. I've had some requests lately to clarify the use and adjustment of the FAV skiving machines. I know some of you have got these machines that have run into some bumps. They're not performing as you'd expect, and a lot of the issues that have been popping up I think have more to do with just learning the machine and proper adjustments, and mainly keeping that blade really sharp. I know that many of you have used these machines in other people's studios, and they're very simple from an operation standpoint when everything's set up properly, but you may not realize how much that edge needs to be maintained, more than just a little bump now and then. If you don't keep that blade super sharp on these fine leathers, and especially on the very soft and thin cuts, they will not perform well. And you have to be maintaining the position of the knife relative to the foot, relative to the feed roll, and these are all things that might have jiggled around during shipment, or maybe as you sharpen the blade down have changed position. So we're going to go over all the basics and just cover some of the questions I've received over the past few weeks. I'm sorry it's taken a while to get to this. I've been traveling, I've been quite busy lately, and I hope you all have not become too frustrated, but we're going to go over this and get you all back on track now. So let's start with just a basic overview of the machine. As you see here, we've got our standard foot set up, and I'm going to open up this door here and show you a few things. First of all, to get to access to this door, you're going to use your screwdriver and this little latch here. You're going to lift this up, and it allows you to open the door open. Okay, this is your sharpening mechanism. This is your knife. One of the things that popped up, there was a customer that had the cover dragging on the back screw here. I do want to bring up that this cover is for the protection of the operator, cover of the work area. Some people don't even use this, but it is helpful to have this. However, this needs to be pushed all the way in, up against the frame, and this needs to be pushed in right here as well. And if it's rubbing, if you look on the plate, there is a wheel, and this works like a cam. It's a height adjustment. So if it's rubbing, you can push this up a little bit and give yourself a little bit more gap away from the knife. So again, make sure it's all the way in and that you've got enough gap that it clears the knife, but not so much the material hangs on the leading edge. So this needs to go in all the way. And if you get material stuck down here, you can take this thing off really easily. But again, this will ride in the casting, and you can see, right there, I can lift and lower that plate. So that's what that does. I'm sure most of you understand how the feet work. You engage the foot here. Thickness adjustment is on this screw, up and down. And the angle is here on the back. So this is going to angle your foot forward and back. When you're doing a split, if you're trying to split the leather level, you're going to want to keep this angle concentric with the angle of the knife, so everything's going to be together. And the stock feet are designed with the right curve. However, if you're intending to use this machine almost like a splitter, where you're trying to do multiple passes, you are going to be pushing kind of the outer boundaries, and you might want to take and polish these corners down a little bit so you have more of a gradual curve out, because these will have a sharper point on these corners. These are designed for doing sharp angle cuts, and not so much for very, very thin passes. As you can see on this one here, we were running it, but there's a little bit of a lip right there. So by polishing that front lip down will help, so you'll have a gradual fade in, and use all the splitting area right here. To change these feet, you loosen this screw on the side, lift the lever, and it's going to pop out like so. Just pull the pin out and put in the other foot. Okay, so for the short term here, I'm just going to use the short foot. Put this back in place. We're ready to go. Okay, we've opened up the machine so you can see the inner workings. We've opened the door here. Remove the cover. Normally you're going to be using this cover, but just so you can see what's going on, we've opened that up. This is your feed wheel. This comes standard as an emery feed wheel. Emery is the most commonly used wheel. It's more of a general purpose. It comes in a fine, medium coarse grain. This is in a medium. You can get it in a finer grit and a coarser grit. If you're doing very, very fine work, you can get a rubber wheel that gives you a capability to do a nice kiss cut on a very soft leather. If you are doing coarser work, you can go with steel wheels that give you more grip, more teeth, and more bite into the material. Same with the feet. You can get roller feet for those heavy jobs or different kinds of shapes for different contours of cut. More will be found on our website, or if you can call, I can send you a brochure and all the different accessories. But again, this is the basic setup. So if you notice on this right now, you lift to the foot, you see how close that feed wheel is. We really want that feed wheel, when you're doing fine leather, to be as close as possible. And if I took a piece of paper here and I grab this hinges. If you look on this side, this little hook spring is your spring tension. The more you pull it out, the harder the tension. So now it's got a harder tension, and I put it down like, the third, and it's kind of, softer tension. You go down to the first, it's like nothing. It just kind of floats. So you really need to be at least number 2 for very, very soft. Softer tension, softer material. So I'm going to keep it on 3 right now. All right, so if you look at the shape, this stone is concentric with the blade. I need that. Now you do that by adjusting this angle. The more I screw it in, the more I tilt it down, and the more I unscrew it, the more it rocks in position. I need to have that concentric. So that's good. All right, and you're going to loosen the nut with your wrench applied, and then by hand you can adjust this in and out. The height up and down is adjusted by this screw, same principle. You loosen the nut and adjust it. Now, you can use a piece of paper to feel your position here. And I want that piece of paper just to slip, okay? Now, if it grips on that piece of paper, I'm too close. Likewise, if I have this thing really close and I start seeing, when the machine's running, sparks hitting on the back side or the front side, I've got my stone either angled wrong or too close to my knife. So I got to have that paper gap clearance. Now, in relation to that paper gap, I need to have my position of my knife set really good. So I'm going to move the camera real quick and show you, okay, what I'm talking about. Right here, I'm going to lower the foot. I have a distance set between the point of the knife. I'm going to lower this down. And the tip of the foot. So there's a gap right there. In the book, it references 0.2 to 0.5 millimeters for soft leather. And the finer the leather, the finer the cut, or the softer the leather, I should say. You can get closer. And so this is like the gap of maybe a business card, or a little bit heavier. But you want to keep this close. If it gets too far away, the material can float as it comes out. And you'll get inconsistencies in the cut. And if it's too close, it will jam up and bind up. If you're dealing with a firmer leather or harder leather, you open up this gap to be about a 1/16 of an inch or so. And that gives the hard leather more room to flex out. The hard leather, you don't have to worry about it moving as softly, so you can give the gap more clearance. But keep that gap about a business card thickness, 0.2 to 0.5 millimeters. You adjust the gap with this center feed wheel. You can adjust it forward, and this will change as you sharpen your knife. As your sharp shrinks down, as you grind it away, you're going to have to keep advancing that forward, and then eventually you'll have to change the knife. You run it all the way back. This is to turn on your grindstone, on, off, as it says there. This is to bring the grindstone into the blade, and so you unscrew it. You can see here, as I move it, it starts to touch. So I push it, it goes away. All right. Now, I'm going to go ahead and turn the machine on. We've already got our settings where I want them. And I'll put this back. Okay. So let's start sharpening. Now, one thing you can do when you're sharpening, that was too close. There we are. Okay. When you're sharpening, you can use a magic marker and you can color the blade. And I'm going to go ahead and lift my cover up and off. And if you do this, if you're doing like a first grind, or maybe you've messed up the bevel, because your angle should be nice and long and you should be sharpening at the forward position close to your foot. If you're sharpening too far away, you get a blunt angle, and that doesn't do a very good job. But by going ahead and putting a little bit of black ink on here, as I'm sharpening, I can see what's going on. So I'm just going to spin this around a little bit, color my blade. All right. Now I see what's going on here. All right. Let's turn the machine on and get to business. All right. Now, my feed wheel is not touching my blade. If it was, I'd be seeing sparks. But I got that paper clearance, so I'm doing a good job there. I've got the machine open. Don't operate the machine with the covers off. I'm doing this just for demonstration purposes. All right, now we're going to go ahead and turn on the stone. That was the far right button, that lever. Loosened it, now it's on. Now I'm going to bring it in. Just slowly bringing it in. That's a good grind. That is probably what you're going to want to have when you're doing some aggressive grinding. At the bare minimum, you want to see a little bit of sparks like that. That means you're getting at least a little bit of action on this. But to get a good grind, that's too much. You don't want it. You can hear the motor struggle, or the grindstone struggling, but I've got good, even distribution of my sparks. I need to see a little bit of light coming off of that. Now, if your stone is dirty, you're going to have problems with it not sharpening. It rubs more than it sharpens. I don't see many sparks when it's dirty. That's what this tool is for. This tool is to clean the surface of the stone. I'm going to run this while it's running against the stone, like so. What that's doing is knocking down the surface. It's removing some of the emery grit and getting clean emery beneath it. Knocks out all the oil and dirt and grime. When you're doing this, especially when you're using this tool, it's a good idea to put on some safety glasses or cover your eyes so you don't get dirt in your eyes. It will throw some dust around. Likewise, when you're grinding, we're going to close the door, keep everything covered so that everything's contained. Right now it's open for demonstration. But once that's cleaned up, you look at the sparks, oh, that's great. I'm barely touching it. I'm getting nice, even distribution. All right, so that's good, efficient grinding right there. You see some light popping off that stone. Now I'm doing good. So you're going to give this a few minutes. Keep in mind, a brand new blade could take 15, 20, 25 minutes to sharpen outright. Because you've got to get that bevel matching the geometry of your stone. You've got to get that long lead in. And an initial grind, or a grind that is too blunt, it's going to take some time to grind it out. So you get all the way down, that black goes all the way down to nothing, you get down to that feather edge point. Alright, now after you've ground for a while, you can give, and if your blade's really dull, you're going to have to give it a few minutes. So once you've ground for a while, back it off, you can use this stone here to deburr the blade. And if you notice, there's black marks on the side because I'm actually going to put it in the blade and then just kiss it along the edge, and that removes the inside burr. Let it rub. Good to go. So that is going to be a super sharp blade now. One other thing to consider down the road, as your blade gets worn down, you're going to need to move the position of the ejector. The ejector is this bowl right here in the middle, and its job is to push the scrap back out down the chute, otherwise it balls up down there. So you want to keep yourself at least a 3/8 gap, half-inch gap, 10 millimeter from the edge of the knife, and to move it you thread in this tool, and it's a press fit, so you thread it in and you can push it and pull it in. So that's what that does. So let's go ahead and let's cover it back up, and if you notice now that blade has gotten really sharp and clean, there's no more black. If I was to take a piece of paper and run along the edge, it's going to cut right. Don't cut yourself. You're just dragging it on the edge here, it starts to cut really easy. And that's what I want. I want that blade cut real smooth, not tearing. See, it just cut right through that paper, and that's what I want. Nice clean cuts, very little resistance. If it cuts clean on the paper, you know it's going to cut good on the leather. Alright, normally again, this will be covered up. For now, let's go ahead and set it up now and turn it back on. Close the door. Alright. Adjust the gap down a little bit. I'm not touching. Don't hear rubbing. That's good. And I got very little gap right there. Turn off my stone. I don't need that anymore. See, it's feeding nice and smooth, all right? Let me drop it down a little bit. It's easier to take it off little by little than to take off too much at one pass. That's what I want. You see how that grabbed and just kind of fed through real nice and smooth? No problem. Feathering my pedal a little bit to slow it down. If I don't push all the way down, it won't go all the way. The clutch will just slightly engage. There's passing through, so I'm just getting a little bit of cut. Now I want to get down real thin, so let's give it a little more. There we are, knocking it out. See, that's nice and smooth. Now back here with some previous cuts, and I see some lines. Those lines are signs of the dull blade. When I don't see lines in my cut right there, that means my blade is cutting smooth. So these two went through pretty good. Alright, drop it down a little bit more. Gotta watch it on the very thin splits. The more passes I go through, the more chances I have of wrinkling. Get nice and smooth now. What happens to your machine when you've got a dull blade? We're gonna simulate that. I'm gonna go ahead and use my stone here to dull it out, just to illustrate. Don't recommend you try this at home. Alright, so I'm going to take some leather now. Try to cut this leather with this dull blade. and see what it does. Okay, it doesn't feed very well. I'm having to pull it through. All right. Let me try dropping it down a little bit. Try it again. Not negative. And see how it's dragging to the back there? That's because the knife's taking it with it. All right, but I'm still getting some cuts, but man, it's struggling, right? Just not getting there. Now let me show you something else that happens. Put some nicks in those blades. Say it's been hasn't been sharpened for a while. Really starting to. It's cutting, but it's struggling, and this is how when you start trying to skive up with a blade that's dull, it's just not coming through very well. And when you get down to your thin stuff, you start biting holes into it. It's just struggling to get through it. Now, let's go back to sharpening. Turn it on. Bring in the stone. Sharpen away. I really dulled it out, so I'm going to give it a little bit. Move it forward a little bit just to try to maintain that minimal gap. Should really give us some more time. So let's see maybe a minute of sharpening what that does. I'm throwing a lot of sparks here. Let's try to deburr it. Alright, let's give it another go. Took it down to nothing. Let's try, run out of leather here. Let's try this piece. See, it's feeding through much better now, just like that. See, that's going through. You still see a little bit of lines happening there. See how it's feeding now? But still, it's dragging it, that material. I got to sharpen it more. It's just not enough. Remember where we started? Flowed through real nice, and now it's dragging. The knife's dull. So give it time, give it 5 minutes, give it some more, and get that thing razor sharp. Because right now, if I try to cut with my piece of paper, and here, I got stuff jamming up in here because it's not flowing through real well. This is where you want to take off your cover and check it out now and then. But if I try to cut right now, I can't get it to slice the paper as easily as I could before. So it's dull, and it may look sharp, but it's not. So number one on these skiving machines, keep that blade really sharp, especially on that soft leather. Any other questions, call us. Number's 800-327-9420. Send me an email, dan@campbell-randall.com. I'm here to help. Just let me know if we can do anything for you. Hope this helps.